In the east of the continent, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has warned protesters in a televised address that their planned protest will not be tolerated and that they will be playing with fire if they go ahead with plans to stage an anti-corruption march to Parliament on Tuesday. Young Ugandans have been organizing the march on social media to demand an end to corruption in government. The Young Ugandans protest is inspired by their counterparts in neighboring Kenya who organized mass demonstrations that forced President William Ruto to drop plans to increase taxes. The protests have since morphed into calls for his resignation. Museveni also accused some of the protest organizers of always working with foreigners to cause chaos in Uganda. Meanwhile, the Ugandan police had earlier announced that they had refused to give permission for the march to take place. However, the main protest leaders said that they would go ahead with it. To discuss this, I am joined by Executive Director, Human Rights Network for Journalists-Uganda, Robert Ssempala. Hello, Robert. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us, how are the citizens reacting to the president's remarks about the planned protest, and do you foresee the protest going on?
Yeah, the citizens are between a mixture of commitment and resignation because of certainly the directive by the police that this is not a sanctioned activity. And Parliament is a sacrosanct place. It has a very high security. So people are still in between participating or not participating. But there is a very high need for people to participate because the levels of corruption are very skyrocketing. And the president has been consistently talking about it lately. Parliament has been talking about it lately. And some legislators are mobilizing some signatures to, discuss corruption at full length. So it is something that is really a mobilizing area for many Ugandans.
So how do you assess the level of government repression and violence that protesters may face given the president's warning?
Yeah, going by the recent past, there's been a lot of brutality and militarization of civic actions by different people, especially the citizens. And government has failed to draw a very clear dichotomy between civic demonstrations and political opposition activities. So both have been met with the same force, and as such, it's very, very difficult to know how people are going to react. But all I know is that there's been a high deployment of the military in the capital, Kampala, and in the outskirts of Kampala. And this is by the military, since the police has already given a directive that this is not an allowed activity. We are likely to see a highly deployed capital, and it's going to be extremely difficult for people to carry on with this activity.
All right, now, Robert, my next question has to do with government repression, and this is something that we journalists have actually protested against. That's gagging the media. What is your assessment of the level of press freedom in Uganda, and how do you think that it may impact journalists' ability to report on the protests?
Yeah, there's been a very high level of self-censorship within the mainstream media. And a lot of activity has been happening in the social media spaces. So we're likely to see the same happening. And this is also orchestrated by mainly the owners who have, in the recent past, had to contend with the president's directive to take away all government advertisements and give them to the national broadcaster, UBC. So that, in a way, has checked the media, because they know how much it can cost them if they are running media houses without government advertisements. So they are trying to behave, and a lot of critical discussions have not come through the mainstream media. So we are not really seeing the mainstream media taking this on and reporting it to full length, given the brutality that many journalists have faced covering such events and also the fact that this has been called by the ordinary citizens and media. The media is likely
Well,
to be
could
one of
this,
the
Robert, could this actually be that there might be concerns, about self-censorship or bias in the coverage?
Yeah, there's a lot of self-censorship. This certainly will play out because government looks at every forces of this nature has a political position. So certain media houses have learned how to act to play safe, but also the fact that many media houses are owned by government-leaning individuals, either in government, in politics, or in business. So they are likely not to participate a lot in giving detailed coverage to activities that are looked at as, anti-government, or that the police has said they're a no-go zone.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for taking time out to speak to us on this.